Now, Syria, media reforms and Israel, some of the stories that have been trending throughout the week. So let's have a look at some of those tweets.
Trending on Twitter this week. The news of the attack on Gaza by Israeli fire saw tweeters place messages of support as well as condemnation of the attack. Also on Twitter, Saudi Arabian national Hamdan al-Turki, a Saudi national currently in Colorado prison. Saudi Arabia wants the national to complete his sentence at home. Egypt, after riot police stormed the famous Al-Azhar University, with many worried about the return of a Mubarak-style era. Leveson has been trending on Twitter in light of the Royal Charter and the trial of former News Corporation employees.
A couple of different things trending on Twitter this week. Al-Azhar University in Egypt. Just today, we heard reports of 22 pro-Morsi supporters, women, being jailed. What's the situation there, Julian?
I think we're going to see the situation in Egypt escalate over the next 3 or 4 days ahead of the scheduled trial of President Morsi. So, in that sense, what's been happening over the last few weeks with student protests, largely peaceful. Recently, there were these reports of clashes and destroying buildings. I think it's going to grow.
International community quite quiet over Egypt. Shabir?
Well, with the international community, it's always sort of extraordinary double standards that always takes place. I mean, a democratically elected government, irrespective of whatever the weaknesses that they may have had, has been removed by military regime. That is not right in any kind of thinking. And to justify it, saying that, a lot of commentators, a lot of others have said that, they're going to restore democracy again. We had a situation in Chile 30 years ago when a democratically elected president, Allende, was got rid of. Then you had Pinochet there for 25 years, who killed at random people. Are we wanting that sort of thing to happen in Egypt, where the military regime continues with brutality and wants to sort of kill peaceful demonstrators? So it's a bad omen, really, what's happening in Egypt. And not only that, it's the wider repercussions in the whole of the MENA countries, Middle East and North Africa, where change was taking place, where long-established dictators were being removed and so on. With the military coming in, I think, we'll have to see what happens in due course.
Well, Julian, let's quickly get something.
No, I was just going to say, I think there has to be a mechanism to address that grievance, which is being expressed in the streets.
Now we are going to have to move on. This week, London became the centre for the World Islamic Economic Forum. With a little more, here's Ryan Clementson.
As the World Islamic Economic Forum opened in London earlier this week, leaders from around the world took their seats.
This is fast becoming a serious platform, a meaningful platform for the exchange of ideas between the Muslim and the non-Muslim world.
Razak's speech focused on the importance of the gender dimension, where he stressed the importance of integrating women into the global economy. The World Islamic Economic Forum is hosting its 9th annual conference. In his speech, Prime Minister David Cameron made a bid to position London as a leading hub for Islamic finance, announcing plans for Britain to become the first Western country to issue a sovereign Islamic bond. The planned £200 million issue is expected next year.
For years, people have been talking about creating an Islamic bond, or sukuk, outside the Islamic world. But it's never quite happened. Changing that is a question of pragmatism and political will. And here in Britain, we have got both. This government wants Britain to become the first sovereign outside the Islamic world to issue an Islamic bond.
Britain's push to promote itself as a leading Islamic finance hub comes as competition heats up with other financial centres in Asia and the Middle East. Britain first announced plans which never materialised 5 years ago, and the new proposal is less than a fifth of the size of the original. The global Islamic banking industry is expected to tip £1.1 trillion by the end of this year, and it seems David Cameron is hoping London will lead the way. Ryan Clementson, Islam Channel.
Now joining me to discuss some of these issues are Dr. Fawad Ali and Abdulaziz Al-Dawish. Now, lots of things going on there. Exciting, Abdulaziz?
Indeed, absolutely. It is exciting for the UK and for the Islamic world in order to introduce the Islamic finance.
London hoping to become the centre for Islamic finance. Dr. Fawad Ali, tell me some more. What are your thoughts on this?
It's intriguing, isn't it? Assalamu alaikum. That the government for the second time should announce its intention to create sukuks.
We heard some statements from David Cameron a few years back, but nothing was made of it. And now what's being proposed this time is a slightly smaller package. Is this scaled down due to economic reasons?
Well, it was a previous government in 2006 that expressed interest, and that in 2008 made the first statements. But then again in 2011 it was judged to be not good value for money. The economic times have changed. The UK is a fading economic and political power, quite desperate for cheap money. And
Islamic finance is now worth £1.1 trillion.
Yes.
It seems to be economically prospering. Abdulaziz Al-Dawish, is this something that your bank looks forward to, or do you think your customers will be looking forward to?
Yes, of course. It's a matching different interest between the government of the UK. Take, for instance, if the government today is under pressure, okay, economically, okay, competing for different sort of capital. Indeed, the Islamic financing or the sukuk, through the sukuk, okay, is one of the most important funding sources today. So the UK took the responsibility in a way in which we believe that they are serious now in order to explore that instrument. It is good for the Sharia compliant capital. Okay, people take, for instance, in the Middle East, there is a huge interest in taking the some sort of European sovereign risk, especially the UK, in the form of sukuk, in the form of Sharia compliant instrument. So it is matching both interests from both sides.
Now, David Cameron has said Sharia-compliant loans will also be introduced for students, possibly. Is this something that we should be looking forward to as Muslims here in Britain? What?
I don't think we should be fooled whenever somebody says the word Islamic. When people say the word Islamic, a lot of noble, magnificent people come to the table, but also a lot of crooks. And time again, this Muslim Ummah has fallen for these crooks. This is the government that raised the fees to £9,000 in the first place. Come on, guys.
Well, crooks, we have our banks here to take care of that, right? Abdulaziz,
yes, absolutely.
Is this something your bank's working on?
It's a concept. We believe there is a message, okay, for us. I come from a Middle Eastern country, okay, I was trained over there. I saw the Islamic finance developing there. It is an option, it is a preference for a huge number of the Muslim communities that they would prefer if there is a bank can offer for their kids the financing for their education, or to buy maybe different goods, or buying a house.
How will this affect your bank, for instance, here in Britain? How will this take effect?
In what form you mean? I mean, it would affect us in terms of profitability. Yes, it is profitability. We are operating, okay, to make a profit, but a decent profit. I wouldn't say capitalizing, as maybe Dr. Fawad, he said it, that people capitalizing on the name of Islamic finance. No, but basically we are coming here to this market. It is very promising. It's a global market for us, and we believe that there is a huge number of Islamic population over here that they need these sort of financing instruments.
Do you think this will benefit both Muslims and non-Muslims, Dr. Fawad?
Well, you can see that it is, because Mr. Cameron is being benefited. He's seen as being pro-Muslim for a bit. The hard right wing of his party thinks this is creeping Sharia. It's a psychological war, isn't it? And then Muslims are...
Psychological war, what do you mean by that?
You know, Islamic finance is the only arena where you can talk about Sharia, wantonly, and don't get shot down. And it's, in many ways, this isn't just about Islam. The government has done it with green economy as well. They've spent a lot of money making a very inaccessible, expensive Green Deal that was meant to help us reduce our carbon emissions. But this is what governments do. They play, and technocrats prosper from it. We see Muslims benefiting because there are a lot of obese sheikhs with a lot of money that they want to feel less guilty about. Where better to put it? You know, to beat interest, stick it in London.
Abdulaziz, if I come to you on a final comment, but are Islamic finances compatible with the capitalist economy?
Yes,
Is
of
this
course.
going to work?
Yes, of course, definitely.
Yes?
Yes,
okay, well, I'll take that from you. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for this evening. I want to thank all of my guests, Shabir Razvi, Julian Weinberg, Dr. Fawad Ali and Abdulaziz Al-Duwish for joining us. And of course, you at home for watching. Remember to keep up with the Twitter conversation using #TheReport. We'll be following the stories throughout the week, so do keep tweeting. If you prefer, you can email us your thoughts on the report at islamchannel.tv. But for now, we'll leave you some scenes from a South African orphanage where baby rhinos were left to die by poachers have been given a chance to survive. Do tune in next week to join us for your report. Assalamu alaikum.